Hi guys, this is Mariah from Watches Off Fifth, and today we're going to talk about a couple different Rolex models. We'll talk about the Submariner, the Sky Dweller, and the Datejust. Our first watch is the classic Submariner. This came out in 1953. It was the first diving watch to be able to go 300 meters deep. All of the features on the watch really highlight how it's made for a diver, from the large hour markers to the luminescence to the ridges on the bezel so that it can be easily moved even if you're wearing a gloved hand. So one of the most notable features about the watch is its bezel. It's a unidirectional turning bezel, so you can turn it one way, and that's specifically to track how much oxygen you have left while you're diving. So now we have obviously digital technology, but back then a diver would be able to turn the bezel that one way, and then as the time winds down, they would be able to track the luminescent marker on the bezel and know that they needed to come back up for air. So obviously this watch was meant to withstand being under extreme pressure. It's also corrosion resistant, it's resistant to ultraviolet light. The ceramic bezel is the reason why the watch can withstand all of the different pressures and temperatures and corrosion that can come from diving. So the Submariner also has a lot of celebrity appeal. We know James Bond now wears an Omega, but he used to wear a Submariner in the original James Bond movies with Sean Connery. And you also have celebrities like Tupac. Also in the 1960s, there were other celebrities like Robert Redford wearing the Submariner. So a lot of references in popular culture. Even recently with the wrap of John Wick 4, Keanu Reeves actually gifted Submariners to his cast members. The Rolex Sub is also frequently lauded as a one-piece collection. Partially because it's classic and there's so much history attached, but also because you can dress it up or down and it would seamlessly blend into your wardrobe. If you're wearing a jeans and t-shirt, just kind of going out casually, or like James Bond, you're wearing a suit or a tuxedo, it's always going to work with whatever you're wearing, and it's the perfect choice. There's also one last interesting feature I'm going to mention. Because this watch was made to be worn as a diving watch, there's actually a glide lock, and that's to make it easier to put over your wetsuit since you need to adjust it a couple of millimeters in order to get it on your wrist when you're wearing a wetsuit. Okay, so the next watch we're going to talk about is the Rolex Sky Dweller. We're moving forward on the timeline. It's 2012. I just had to stop myself from making a really bad pun about flying into it, but this watch was made to be the ultimate travel lover's watch. You already have the dual time zone just by looking at it. In the middle, there's an off-center circle that has a 24-hour dial. So that's going to be whatever your home time zone is. And you can tell whether it's day or night too because of the 24-hour feature. Then on the actual main dial is going to be wherever you're traveling to. So that's going to be your local time zone. And another amazing feature and makes it a travel watch is that you can use the bezel in order to adjust the time zone by hours. When you're landing, you can easily adjust it so you're ready to go and you're never late. We also have the Saros annual calendar. So because it's an annual calendar instead of a perpetual calendar, you do have to adjust it once a year, right on February, because depending on if it's a leap year or not, whereas a perpetual calendar, you would never need to adjust, but that's still amazing, especially getting all the other complications on the watch. So you can see in the aperture the 12 index markers on the main bezel. That's where you're going to see the month. So if it's November, the 11 is going to have a little red dot on it. And you also have the classic Rolex Cyclops window at the 3 o'clock, and that'll show you the date. This one is a slate dial with an Eve rose gold bracelet and case. And here we have a two-toned bracelet and case with a black dial. And if you've been keeping up with watch news, you'll know that at Watches and Wonders this year, they just recently came out with some new color combinations, and for the first time an Oyster Flex bracelet. So if you're incredibly active, the Oyster Flex is going to be great for you, so you don't have to worry about scratching your watch bracelet. It's worth mentioning that this is Rolex's most complicated watch. with the annual calendar, the rotating bezel, the dual time zones, you have all the features that Rolex has to offer in one watch. Also, some notable celebrities. Roger Federer has been seen rocking the Sky Dweller actually after a match as he's like holding up his Wimbledon trophy. We also have Michael Jordan, DJ Khaled, and Jack Harlow's one and only luxury watch is a blue dial Sky Dweller. All right, so we're gonna talk about the Rolex GMT Master 2. This watch came out in 1954, and similar to the Sky Dweller, it's also a travel watch, but it's quite different. So the watch really focuses, kind of like the Submariner, on having a really great legibility. You have really big dial markers, you have this graduated bezel, but the difference is that it was made for Pan American Airway pilots. So it's meant to be a dual time zone watch. You have a big hand that's going to be the 24-hour reader for the bezel, which is a 24-hour bezel, and it can be easily moved in either direction to accommodate whatever time zone you're traveling to, setting on the main watch to be whatever time zone you're in locally, and then have the outer bezel be maybe your home time zone. So the really cool thing about the Pepsi is just that it has the classic Pan Am colors, the blue and red to denote day and night. Pretty exclusive watch. You can tell it's always going to be one of a kind with a meteorite dial, right? The meteorite adds a really unique touch to this classic tool watch, and also something that sets it apart from a travel watch like the Sky Dweller is that it's meant to be a tool watch and very functional. If you're looking for something that's a little bit more complex than the Datejust, you're definitely going to want to look for a GMT Master 2. And there are so many celebrities wearing the GMT Master 2. You have Orlando Bloom, Sylvester Stallone, John Mayer, and if you watch The Blacklist, you've definitely seen it on there. The main character wears the Pepsi all the time. So yeah, another great model from Rolex. Now we're gonna talk about a watch from 1945. It was made by Hans Wilsdorf, the actual creator of Rolex and Tudor, and it's the Datejust. As the name suggests, the main feature here is that there's just a date, but in 1945, it was the first watch to feature a date that automatically changed. So you didn't have to set it, obviously, if it's a shorter month or if it's a 30 or a 31st month, you might have to adjust it then, but this was the first watch that was going to tell you what day it was every day. And that was kind of like a value that Rolex put out there where every day matters. And every day you want to make it count, which is a pretty cool moral, I think. One incredible Datejust that we have in stock right now is this Datejust right here with a green fluted motif dial, fluted bezel, and a Jubilee bracelet, which is gorgeous. It glistens in the sunlight. And a really great feature about the Datejust is because it's so simple, there are a ton of variations that Rolex comes out with pretty regularly. So you can make the watch look however you want it to. You can have it match your personality or even a certain season of the year. It's incredibly versatile in that regard. You can even have a diamond bezel if that's something you want. So it is the most personable watch, something that you can really make your own. Because the Datejust isn't at the highest price point for Rolex watches, a lot of people feel more comfortable making it match their personality, whether it is getting a different dial, a different bezel, a different bracelet, or getting it iced out. There are tons of ways to customize it. And some notable celebrities who've worn the Datejust are people like Sir Winston Churchill and Dwight D. Eisenhower. The cool thing about Rolex is that because it's such an industry leader, what you see on maybe like the Submariner is going to be what you see for diving watches on all the other brands that are out there. So those are just a few models of Rolex's vast collection. And the really cool thing about Rolex is that because it's such an industry leader, the diving watches, for example, like the Submariner, that you see in other brands are actually different kinds of replicas of the Rolex watches. So they're gonna have that similar big bezel, the multi-directional bezel, and different features that you'll see on Rolex watches. So it's cool to see how that's passed down through history and how Rolex is actually the foundation for those designs. So I hope you might have learned something from all the info that I threw at you today. And if you are interested in any of these pieces or maybe something you didn't see today, give us a call at Watches Off Fifth and we're happy to help you find your next dream watch. So I'm Mariah and that's it for today.